but those girls try to sue me. I don't even think I've told you this story before. Hello and welcome back to Sassy with Miki and Kev. Today we've got juicy roommate stories. I think this is one that probably everybody who has gone to college or some similar experience can relate to. I personally have like a bunch of crazy roommate stories. How many do you have?
Should we have is this going to be part of a thing called learning to be an adult?
Yeah, I guess this will be part of the adulting series.
I only have one crazy roommate story, and that's rooming with Miki.
Stop. I'm literally your most mild roommate you've ever had.
How many of the roommates in the past are you still good friends with or talk with?
None of them were my friends before, and none of them are my good friends now either.
I see.
I'm still friendly with like people that I roomed with, but like we were never close.
So I had two like year-long roommates in college.
Okay.
And they're two of my best friends.
Oh, this is a competition now where we're talking. Okay. Well, first off, I never lived on campus, so my experience is completely different than yours, right? I lived on cheap off-campus housing. The cheaper it was, the better. So I feel like that's why I had some crazy roommate experiences. I had 3 years at UCLA. For the first year, I had to move every quarter. And then for the next 2 years, I lived with the same two girls. And those two girls were friends before. And we are all still like friends now, but I have not spoken to them like in a while. We're friendly, like nothing happened.
Did you have roommates before college?
No. So that was my first experience. But because I moved around so much, I have 3, maybe 4 crazy stories.
Should we start with some happy stories?
Some happy stories? Okay, sure. We can start with happy stories.
So when I first started undergrad, we have a situation where we like have dorm houses and we choose those houses in our undergrad. So we had temporary housing for the first couple of weeks. Funny thing is the water polo coach actually signed me up to be on the water polo team without my permission, aka and their season started before school started. And so technically they put me in a room with someone who had already been living there for a month on the water polo team when I first arrived. He was like this pretty chill, like more like athletic dude who I spent for a couple of weeks, and we were fine. And then we had to sort ourselves into our specific dorms and figure out who our new roommates were going to be. We had a choice of figuring out who that person would be, but there was maybe 10 to 15 dudes and 10 to 15 girls, and you kind of just tried to pair up, and it was really awkward. Like
inters?
No, between the guys and between the girls.
Oh, okay,
yes.
I see.
There's only a few options. You can't roommate with a girl, right?
Ooh. Is that what you would have preferred, Kevin?
No. So the way that I found my first college roommate was that we both had this really annoying issue where our ID cards didn't work, and we bonded over this fact. We were both trying to get in. We were waiting at the door, and our IDs were wouldn't work. I'm like, do we even get accepted to this college? And we became roommates for that first freshman year. And it was actually a hot mess because when we were actually moving from our temporary room to our full rooms, we still didn't have ID access, I think. Neither of us had it. So it was
what a horrible pairing on your part.
Our room was really dark and gross. And on the back side of the street, there was the college's childcare. And so we would get woken up at 6:30 every single day because that's when the childcare opened. So that was the experience of our lovely room. I think freshman year is great. Even though we were different majors, most of the classes we take were the same. And so we bonded over that, and you
also went to a pretty small school.
Yeah. That's all my friend groups kind of branched off of us being roommates. So
that's cute.
Yeah.
My freshman year of college, aka
your sophomore
my sophomore year, because I transferred in, they have a requirement where if you go in as a freshman, they require you to live on campus. Most colleges are like this because they want you to get a college experience. Also, they make quite a lot of money on the dorms and the dining hall food. But because I came in as a transfer, I had the option to live off campus, and that's what I did because it was probably a third to maybe a half of the price, depending on what kind of room you got for
how much
campus.
Was it?
My first place was $450. Maybe 500 including utilities and everything.
That's crazy.
But it was one room shared with 4 girls. I would be the 4th girl. So there would
be
four
4
girls
beds, or were there bunk beds?
There were 4 individual beds, but it was kind of I think there were some in the living room and some in the bedroom, if I remember correctly. But basically, it was a group of 3 seniors who they had been rooming together this entire time they were at UCLA, and then they were looking for a fourth roommate. So I was on Free and For Sale. I found this room. Honestly, I'd never lived away from home too, so I really didn't know what to expect. I was like, yeah, 4 girls, 1 bathroom. That sounds right. Like, sure. I didn't know at the time, but it was illegal. Like, they were only allowed to have 3 girls in that room. So I was not on the contract. I was not on anything. And I knew I wasn't going to be on the contract and stuff, but I didn't know that it was like against the rules. So I had put my security deposit down. I hadn't moved in yet. But once I put my security deposit down,
who are you depositing the security to?
Like, to the other girls.
Oh, that's kind of sketchy too.
It is a little sketchy. But anyways, I put my security down with the girls, and then my dad helped me move in. At the time, I really didn't have that much furniture because I was planning on buying stuff from Free and For Sale. So I think all I had was like a mattress and a table and then like my clothes. I ended up landing a gig, a live-in stay-at-home caregiver gig that was gonna let me live in a Beverly Hills home, 90210 home, with a famous Hollywood person's significant other who needed some assistance temporarily. I ended up getting the gig, and so I needed a way out of the 4-girl situation. I found out that it was legal for me to be there, so obviously I used that as my excuse for like why I needed to move out. They ended up giving me like a super hard time, even though the quarter had not started or anything. Like, literally,
how long did you live there for then?
I don't know, like 2 days.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I wasn't even there. Like, I think I like went elsewhere. Like, I didn't even sleep there ever.
Oh, because your parents were visiting or something.
Yeah. Like, I never slept there. I was still with my parents sleeping in the hotel. They gave me a super hard time to leave. And long story short, I ended up being able to leave okay. But those girls tried to sue me. I don't even think I've told you this story before. But the issue is that you cannot sue someone without an address. The only address they had from me was a P.O. box.
Oh, wow. Where'd you have a P.O. box?
Because my parents are smart. They like have rental properties and stuff. So they were like, just be careful. You never know. So I forgot what they asked me for my address for, but I only gave them a P.O. box. They ended up sending, like, they had like a UCLA law student help them or something, write something up. And I don't know what they sent or what they did, like what the letter even said, because I never got to read it. The P.O. box was my parents. They read it and they never told me about it until years and years and years later. All they told me was like, be careful of those girls and like have your guard up.
How can you sue something when it was illegal in the first place?
I know, but I never read the letter, so I don't know what the letter says.
Did you sign a contract?
Maybe, but even if I did, it would have like.
Did you get your security deposit back?
I honestly don't remember. I don't think they gave me my deposit back, but I had not paid rent yet. So
people are like crazy.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I was definitely like, it was not a good situation on anybody's part. They had threatened not to give me my stuff back, and I think I had to escalate to the leasing manager and be like, hey, these girls illegally like rented this place to me.
And so I found out, so I'm leaving.
Yeah.
But I feel like all these illegal things about like college students,
it happens
like,
all the time.
Yeah,
it happens all the time.
So expensive, and it's like the only way for people to get by. Right?
Okay, so that's quarter 1. Okay.
Oh my gosh, we have to do
You went through your first year already. I gotta go through 3 quarters.
My
okay.
Gosh.
Quarter 2, I'm like, all right, my temporary nursing gig ended. So I needed to look for a new place to live. The whole first quarter I lived in Beverly Hills. It was great. It was beautiful. It was
sounds
splendid.
Like another K-drama.
Yeah, that'll be a whole nother episode another time. But the second quarter, so again, I was looking for housing and I clearly did not learn from my mistake because I did the exact same thing. I went on Free and For Sale and I looked for roommates and I looked for the cheapest thing, okay? This time I was in a 2-bed, 2-bath. So instead of sharing a bathroom with 3 other girls, it was only 2 other girls because I was in a triple. Okay. And I think this one was $550 a month.
What a deal.
And it was on Veteran, which if you know anything about UCLA, Veteran is like the furthest possible place you can live that is still relatively, like you could still walk to school. So it's like about a mile-ish. I lived with 5 other Indian girls. They were all international students.
I thought you said 4. Wait. So you were a triple and a double.
No, a triple and a triple. So I lived with 5 other girls. There were 6 girls total.
6. Oh, so that's 3. Okay.
Yeah, so all 5 of them were Indian international students, and they were all doing their master's or some sort of like postgraduate.
Older than you?
Yeah, a little bit older. I am the type of person where I use my own stuff I don't like to share anything with anybody. Like, I only had one cup, one fork, one knife, one pot. Like,
Yeah, I mean, what else? You're an undergrad.
but because I don't like to share, I don't want to ruin other people's stuff, and I don't want other people to ruin my stuff, okay? So when I lived in this apartment, they would all share their stuff together and like cook together, whatever. I ate a different diet, so I wanted to do my own thing. My only ask to them was that, like, don't use my stuff, and I won't use yours. The girls were very nice, don't get me wrong. But I would come home and my stuff would be all used. Like, I would see in the sink, like, my stuff all in there. And then a lot of the things that, like, are wooden. And I remember so specifically, like, one of the wooden spatulas got stained, like, with, like, red spices or something. And I could not get it off. And that was the first incidents where I was like, hey, like, I told you guys not to use my stuff. Like, could you not use it? And then they were like, yeah, sorry. Like, it was just a mistake. And then it kept happening.
Do you think it was the same person or?
I don't know, because they all kind of cook in the kitchen. So I really didn't know who's it like was using it. But then it happened again. So then I was like, hey, I thought we already talked about this. Like, why are you still using my stuff? All that was just like annoying. The real situation that happened was that, again, I was the sixth girl and
is not legal again.
It was not legal again, except they didn't tell me that it was illegal. So again, I wasn't on the contract. I had signed a contract like with the girls, but I didn't realize that it was different than whatever leasing contract they had. And basically the girls got in a fight with each other. One girl from my room and a girl from the other room got into a massive fight with each other. And one day I come home after like 8 hours of class and I see our frozen goods. We lived on the second floor and one of the girls was throwing the frozen goods like from the second floor and it was coming down and I was like standing on the first floor and I was like, what is going on? And then I saw my like salmai like fly down.
Why is she throwing your food?
She was throwing everybody's food, but I was so confused what was going on. I go back up there and they explained to me, they're like, hey, like they had a situation where two of the girls had a personal falling out with each other. And as they had that personal falling out, one of the girls voluntarily went to the leasing manager and told her that we illegally have 6 girls. And there's a clause in the contract that says that if you have a 6th girl, you have to pay like a $3,000 fee or something. I don't know what it was. It was something ridiculous, which is so stupid because why would that girl tattle on us when she would have to split the fee? So then I was like, I volunteer as tribute. Like, I'll move out. And they were like, really? Like, you don't have to. And I was like, no. Like, let me move out.
How grateful.
So I took all my pots and pans and all my stuff.
Minus your frozen food?
Minus my frozen food, and I moved out.
Where'd you go next?
But it was
so
like
exciting.
There was still 2.5 weeks left in the quarter, so I had to relocate with a friend until like, because you can't get housing in the middle of a quarter. You need to wait until the quarter's over. So yeah, that was quite an experience. Actually, one of the girls was studying at your school, like she was doing a PhD. So
Juicy. We're still in sophomore year.
Yeah, this is still the same year. We're not done yet.
Okay.
Okay. So that was quarter 2, and I was like, okay, it really cannot get worse than this. So quarter 3, I'm like, I'm willing to pay more. I'm willing to increase my budget. I think I increased it up to like $800-900. So I ended up living in a studio with another girl, again, an international student, but she was from Korea. And I was subletting the apartment because the girl who I was subletting from graduated early. It was a pretty spacious studio, I will say. And again, I really didn't have that much stuff. And the quarter was amazing. It was great. Nothing happened. There was no drama. Like, we actually got along quite well. And everything changed when she got a boyfriend.
Juicy.
She would bring this guy. I never brought anybody over, but she would bring this guy over and they would like cuddle in bed and stuff. And I started to get like a little bit uncomfortable because it's a studio. Like, we're in the same space. Like, my bed is facing your bed. So if you guys are cuddling, yeah, like I'm right here. So I started to get a little uncomfortable, but I never said anything because I was like, okay, whatever. Like, this is technically her apartment. We never set ground rules because there was no reason to. So things started to get a little spicy there. And we had a rule with each other where if we ever needed overnight guests, we would let each other know. So she would have people over and stuff. And I was like, yeah, of course, that's fine. I don't care. And on the weekends, I was never there anyway. So she always had her boyfriend sleep over. And I was totally fine with that. The one time that quarter, I was like, there are 3 nights that my mom was going to come for the end of the quarter, and she needs to stay with us those 3 nights. And I asked her if it was okay 2 months in advance. And she said, yes, of course. So my mom was coming those nights, and
her boyfriend was doing some dishes.
No, she was graduating. Okay. And all of a sudden, like the night before my mom comes, she's like, my parents suddenly lost their hotel. Like they need to also stay in the studio with us. Like, is that okay? And again, it's a studio. There's like no space. And she was going to have her mom, her dad, and her brother. And I was like, I don't think there's physically enough space for us to all be here. So I said no. I was like, I don't really feel comfortable. And like, because it's a studio and you have to get across the room to use the restroom, I don't really feel comfortable with like your dad and your brother being here, because it was going to be like quite a couple days. It wasn't just like one night. So I was like, no, like, can they look for something else? And she got so mad at me. And she was like, you're being so ridiculous. Like, I can't believe you would not allow this, whatever. And then obviously I got upset. So then I was like, well, how about all the times this quarter where I haven't said a single thing about you bringing people over, whatever. So like we like are butting heads at this point, but whatever. We have 1 week and then I'll never see her again. She starts bringing this guy over while my mom is there. Like they're in the apartment, like doing stuff, and we're also in the apartment, and every time she walks in and out, she's like slamming the door shut, like she's throwing the dishes, and it's just all really, really passive aggressive. Like instead of having a mature conversation, she'd rather just do all this like passive aggressive stuff. At this point, I was a little concerned for my safety because she was doing some pretty like aggressive things, but I was like, let's just get these couple days over with and move out. I end up moving out successfully, and there was a split second where after I finished taking the last thing out of the apartment, I thought I had left my phone in there. And she had deadlocked, deadbolted, like everything. Like the moment I left, I could hear her like, like clearly like aggressively trying to like kick us out. But thankfully,
Mickey's getting real wild
I
up.
actually accidentally dumped my phone into the dumpster. So I had to dig it out of the dumpster, but it was fine. But yeah, that was it. That was my 3 quarters. So it was 3 for 3 for 3 nightmares.
So this is your first year of college.
Yeah. Meanwhile, like classes and stuff are all fine. Like my roommate situation was the only thing that was like.
Mm-hmm. Sophomore year, I had my own single in a dorm. I lived in the same building all 4 years.
So there was no drama?
The way that the rooming situation is processed is a little bit of drama. So there's not enough space for everyone to live on campus. Mm-hmm. So there's like a randomly generated system where the order of who picks what room is chosen, right?
Okay.
And so some people get kicked off campus. But I was the RA of there's like 8 different alleys, and so I was guaranteed housing, but I just got the crappiest room.
Can you guys imagine that, Kevin as an RA?
Yeah, I'm very chill. I had a little like Target chair, the foldable circle ones, where people can come and sit there and talk to me about their problems.
Feelings?
Their problems.
So was your door always propped open?
Usually, yeah.
Wow, so opening. I would come and visit.
And we had a whiteboard at the end. I have like office hours once a week too.
Oh, did people come?
Yeah.
Really?
I had snacks, yeah.
Really? Mm-hmm. You funded those yourself?
We had like convenience store money, yeah.
Wow, that's so cute.
Yeah, we also had a budget. Like the dorm had like a budget.
That's cute. Did you have to apply to be an RA?
Yeah, you have to go through interviews and stuff.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Was it a hard...
I don't think so. It was not that many people wanted to be.
Do you get free housing for being an RA or anything?
Nothing.
There's no benefits.
No benefits.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So who did you live with your second year? Oh, you lived by yourself.
Yeah.
How could there be drama if you lived by yourself?
I don't know. Yeah, there wasn't much drama.
Well, so my second year of college, I found this beautiful, beautiful apartment, okay? It was $19.50 for a 1-bed, 1-bath. And it was very close to campus. So UCLA is like located on a hill, and the on-campus housing is where we call the hill. And I lived 1 street over from the hill. So it was like the most optimal place, and it also came with 1 parking spot. I needed to find 2 girls to split it with me so that it was $6.50 each. So one of my nursing school classmates actually was also looking for housing, and her friend were looking for housing. So I was like, okay, like, yeah, I have this apartment. You guys can share it with me. So we all signed signed the lease. Everything was great. Like, everyone was very timely with their payments, signing the contract. Like, there was no drama. So we signed this in March and we didn't move in until September. So when we moved in September, initially everything was great. Like, me and this other girl were like besties. We went to nursing school together, obviously, but we weren't close before, but we became super close through this. It was honestly so much fun living with her, and I loved it.
I hear an accept.
So the first time we had drama was, let's call her Jessica. So I went to school with Jessica, and the other girl was Vanessa. Okay.
Sure.
And so Vanessa got a boyfriend.
It's always the boyfriend. It's always the boyfriend.
It is always the boyfriend. So we made a rule that curfew is 8 p.m. So no people over after 8 p.m. Boys, girls, nobody is allowed to be over after 8 p.m. And then every month you got 3 nights of overnight guests. So past the 8 p.m. or whatever. Nobody really ever had any guests to stay over, so it was never an issue. But she had this guy over, and I'm kind of a stickler, but Vanessa was way more a stickler than Jessica was way more of a stickler than I was. And it was 7:59 p.m. and Vanessa and her boyfriend were still like doing the dishes, talking all dandy and stuff. They end up getting in an argument because it's like 8:06 and this guy still hasn't left yet. And she wasn't intending on using her 3 nights. Like, she just wanted him over. And so that was the first time we all got in a fight. We were just like, well, if you're not going to respect the rules, what's the point of the rules? And then shortly after, I don't even know if this is related or not, but the two of them, like, they stopped talking. I was busy, so I really didn't care or pay very much attention. And then all of a sudden, Jessica got a live-in home gig, just like I did, except it was the middle of the quarter, and she had found a place where she could live in and work, and it was right next to the School of Nursing, so it was like a better situation. So she moved out, and she ended up finishing paying for the rest of the quarter.
Wow.
And then she found sublets.
Which is really annoying.
Yeah, so she found sublets who moved in, and, well, once she moved out, like, all of a sudden, she stopped talking to me. Like, even when we saw each other at school, like, she wouldn't really say hi to me or anything. So then I was like, oh, did I do something wrong? Because she wasn't talking to either of us at this point. We stopped talking, and I felt really sad because I really considered her to be one of my best friends at this point. We saw each other, like, every day. So the sublets that she brought in had some issues. I can't even remember exactly what it was, but I'm so non-confrontational, and you know this about me. Like, I will not bring it up unless it's like actually truly an issue. I think her sublet had brought someone over, and her sublet's friend was sleeping in my bed when I got home at the end of the day, and they were like drunk, passed out or something. I can't remember, but I was so upset, and I texted her immediately, and I was like, you need to get your sublet in check right now. And I think that was the final straw. Like, after that, like, she and I, like, never really talked.
What happened to the apartment then?
Oh, so I kept that apartment because that was such a nice apartment. Like, people were begging to stay there. Because of all these experiences that I had, I felt it would be best if I got roomed with people I was friendly with, but not like best friends with. Because I would never want to ruin my friendship just because I lived with them and we're not compatible. So I ended up finding these 2 Asian girls, and they were friends with each other, but they also weren't super close. They were just like friends. And the 3 of us lived together. No drama, no nothing. The year went by great. Yeah, we still all follow each other on Instagram. To be fair, like, I don't think any of us were home that often, but it just worked out perfectly. That was the first time where I was like the messiest one. Like, I feel like I was a problem that year.
And you were dating someone, so you weren't home very often?
But I was dating someone all those years.
Oh,
I was never home that often.
Juicy.
It's not that juicy. I was a good roommate because I was never home. The struggle is real trying to meet somebody IRL in 2023. When I asked Kevin what his favorite dating app from the past was, he immediately said Coffee Meets Bagel. Y'all always ask, where can I find a man like Kevin? He cooks, he cleans, he's a doctor, an NCAA athlete, and he has the best personality. Well, the answer is Coffee Meets Bagel. That was his dating app of choice. If you're tired of casual dating and looking for a serious relationship, Coffee Meets Bagel was made for you. In fact, Coffee Meets Bagel is so serious about dating that if you sign up for the app and say you're looking for a casual relationship
relationship, the app recommends you check out a different app because this one is for the real ones. Over 91% of daters on Coffee Meets Bagel are looking for a serious relationship, especially for people like us working long 12-hour shifts with no time to sit down or take a lunch break. Our schedules are super demanding and we don't want to be wasting precious time if the other person isn't looking for something real. I also love the filters that they have, including age, height, distance, allowing you to pre-screen through candidates that you already know won't be a good fit. We personally know 2 friends who met on Coffee Meets Bagel. One couple is engaged and the other is happily married. I still remember my friend telling me about going on her first date with her now fiance while they were in college, and now they've moved in together, got a dog, and gone on family vacations. It's all very magical to watch unfold. The best part is that these two probably would have never met in real life if it weren't for a little push from online dating and getting the chance to interact with more people. Modern times call for modern techniques to find love. We've teamed up with Coffee Meets Bagel to bring you 1 month free of Coffee Meets Bagel Premium to make it even easier for you to find a serious relationship. To redeem the offer on Android, use Miki and Kev in the Coffee Meets Bagel app. On iOS, use Miki and Kev via the link provided in the video/podcast description.
How about you? Your 3rd and 4th year of college.
3rd year, I roomed with my other bestie friend. Again, there's some lottery number juiciness. They messed up where initially they thought like they randomly generate a number from 0 to 1 for everyone, and they thought the highest number would be able to pick first, but there was some law in our bylaws of our like dorm where it was actually the reverse, where the lowest number picks first. There was like so much drama because you can pull people in, right? Like you can promise people that like if you pick a double, you get to choose your roommate. So you get to rescue someone whose number weren't good. So people had already made promises or like had cut people off when their number was 0.99, right? They're like, I'm picking first. I'm pulling you to the nice room. And then they're like telling other people, I'm just going to pick a single and hey, screw you, I'm not going to help you, right?
Yeah.
And then people had to go find outside housing, right? And then like a couple of days later, it flopped where the people who had like really bad numbers are now the best people, right? They get the first choice. So there was a lot of drama.
So what number did you get?
So I had a really bad number to begin with, but I was RA, so I had a guaranteed room. So I could pull someone in fine. And then I ended up they switched the thing, and then my number was like 0.1 or something. So I had like...
Why is it 0.1? Why are you using decimals?
It was like out of 1. I don't know. It was like...
Ew, that is the most like
it was like 10
on-brand
digits.
thing.
It was like 10 digits. It was like my number was like 0.1047. Like it was like there's a lot of digits.
That is the most on-brand thing for your school I've ever heard of. Any other school would have just used normal whole numbers.
But you have to like you can't have the same number as someone else.
That is the funniest thing I've ever heard of.
So I got to pick a pretty good room.
Okay.
And then like I was gonna room with my friend because his number wasn't very good and he wasn't gonna be able to get on campus housing if I didn't pull him in. Otherwise I would have just picked like a single like.
But as an RA, don't you have to have a single? You're allowed to room with people?
Yeah. Things were really good. I mean,
and you guys are still best friends. So
yeah,
clearly it went fine.
I mean, we were like
Who is messier?
Guys, he's way messier than I. He acknowledges his messiness.
Okay.
But
y'all never fought.
Not really.
Did either of you guys bring girls over?
No, not really. No, like a couple times we just text each other.
Oh, juicy. Tell me about that. I'm so curious. What do you text the bros when you're about to bring a girl to your dorm?
I was like, hey, do you mind if you just hang out? Are you okay if I use the room for a couple hours?
Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Would you not make fun of each other to the ends of the earth?
Yes. They're like, what'd you do? You're getting really red. This is like the most fun that Mickey's ever had in a podcast episode.
Yeah, so you're doing college boy things. Okay.
Yeah, it was fine.
Because usually, and maybe you might disagree with this, I don't know, but usually the etiquette is to go to the guys' room.
Oh, really?
You don't bring the guys back to your place.
Well, I spent a lot of time
unless one of you guys has
at her place because she lived off campus.
Do you want to talk about the fact that most of your friends were not in your college year? Because I think that's so interesting.
I had a lot of friends who were 1 year below me.
Out of your 3 best friends,
2 of them are 1 year below.
Yeah, so you were friends with people younger than you. Do you think that was like an emotional maturity thing where you...
Because
I'm just reaching here.
Those 2 other people are on the older side. I guess no, they're not really. They're less than a year younger than me.
Okay, anyways, so that went well. How about your last year?
I had my own room.
So did you bring girls over your 4th year?
I had a girlfriend in the middle of and the end of 4th year.
Ooh. So how was that? Did you enjoy having your own single?
No, I had a bunk bed because I was trying to keep things clean where like my desk was here and my bed was up there.
Oh, you had a bunk desk?
Yeah.
Okay.
To just give me more space.
I see. You don't want to tell some juicy
It was not very juicy.
Why not?
I was busy trying to get myself into medical school.
Oh, that's
it was
valid.
like not juicy at all.
That's valid.
Yeah. Yeah, so undergrad was fine. Like I lived in the same dorm 4 years. I had 2 good roommates.
Okay.
One summer I lived with my other friend for the summer
Okay.
while we were doing research, and it was fine too.
Summary is that
The
Kevin.
guys are just in general fine, I guess. I forgot to tell you, I had a really crappy summer experience. I went to my med school I did an internship there over the summer between my sophomore and junior year. And housing is expensive, more expensive than LA in the Bay Area. But they gave us free housing for this Amgen Scholar thing.
And you're like, oh, free housing. That's
Hell
amazing.
yes, amazing. But they put us in this.
It's almost too good to be true, would you say?
Yes, the place that we had, it was used to be an old hospital, so the rooms are converted like hospital rooms, and then it turned into like a nunnery or something. But it's this really old brick building, and they put little twin beds in these little rooms, and there's like not even a space for a desk. You had to share it with one other person, and there's rats in the freaking kitchen. So I started cooking for a couple days there, and then I stopped cooking. I had to buy a microwave and literally just used that the entire 10 weeks.
So you saw the rats physically?
Yeah. Oh,
Tell me about the
there
rats.
was you can buy rat tape,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
We put rat
Like the
tape out
mouse
there.
trap?
No, not a trap. It was tape. So they walk on it and they get stuck,
Okay.
but they don't die.
Yeah, it's the glue.
Yeah, it's
like
so
a glue.
awful. One time a rat got stuck on there and then decided to like bite off its own legs to escape. And so there were just like legs on the tape.
I cannot right now. I cannot.
I never told you this story.
All 4? They
No, I
need
just
at least
missed, like,
some
two. I
limbs
think
to
2
continue.
of just a couple legs, and there's just blood. And then one other time we had to kill one because it was still alive on there.
That's
So we
so
took the
sad.
trash can and just like is not a good time. Anyways, I mean like cockroaches and stuff were there. The
Okay.
shower rooms were not good. They were
Okay.
really small. And then my roommate, oh my gosh, he was a sweet man, very religious, very sweet. But the one thing that got me was he could not wake up in the morning, and he would just set alarms and not turn it off. It was so annoying.
How
So
early
would
was he
set
getting up?
He would set an alarm for 6:30. He would just not wake up to it, and then it would just go off. Our heads would probably closer than our heads right now.
Okay.
And his alarm is probably sitting right here,
Okay.
and he would just not turn it off.
Why don't you just turn it off for him?
But then there would be another one in like 10, like it was insane. I did not understand it for one bit. Like he would just not wake up.
You prefacing the story with the fact that he's a sweet
Yeah, like
man.
when he's awake, he's fine, like very respectful. Like
When he's awake. Kevin's standards for people are way low.
but like it's kind of annoying, right? Like you can't sleep. I don't know. What would you say if someone did that? I mean, I kind of do that to you now with my pager and stuff.
It's different though, but you wake up to them too.
I wake up pretty
I'd be
fast.
pretty pissed if I got up to your pager and you didn't. I would shake you.
And like we had to like roughly get up at the same time to go to our like.
Were you guys in the same
research.
program?
We're all in the same program, but our labs, like it was research,
different. I
different
see.
places, right?
Okay.
So our schedules didn't always align. That was that. I mean, he went home on the weekends because he's from the Bay, so that was fine.
What about your roommate now?
We can make another episode on that.
You're not going to say I'm a sweet, sweet woman? What's the worst part of living with me?
The worst part?
Yeah.
Mickey just likes to think that sink is a trash can. I think that's the...
That is literally you. Oh, I see what you're talking about. Okay. So Kevin uses a sink as a trash can, like literally. Like he'll peel fruits, veggies, whatever, and he'll just dump them in the sink.
That's because it's already a trash
Literally
can.
you don't even have to move. Literally, if you just tilted your body the other way, there's a trash can where you can just dump it down the trash can. But instead, you dump it down the sink. Now, what you're upset about me, go ahead.
You just make these crazy smoothies and peanut butters and just dump the stuff in the sink or
My
on the
toxic
sink.
trait is that I eat peanut butter on a spoon
And
every
then
day.
like it's all over everything. Like there's sometimes a bowl there that was clean and it like becomes gross. Or then your avocado smoothie stuff, you just put it in there and then you have put a clean spoon and you just toss it in the avocado water. And then you have the cup of tea and you just throw sometimes you just throw the tea bag from like over here from the living room
No,
into the
I
sink.
don't. I have never done that before.
Some nice tea avocado like puree.
With peanut butter. Okay, what do you want? Do you want me to make a collection of the peanut butter spoons?
If
and
you can
put
just
them-
take a paper towel and just wipe it
I
off.
can't though. That's such a waste of resources. It's not eco-friendly for me to waste a paper towel every time. We'll post an update on IG stories.
Don't let it dry out. So med school was okay. We had to find roommates, but I also was more dirt poor in med school because I had to take loans. And then my parents were graciously, they're like, oh yeah, we can probably pay for your living expenses. So they gave me like maybe $10K a quarter, which is like a decent amount of dollars. I first found a group of 3 other dudes. So there was like a Facebook group with all the accepted medical students, and we tried to find like a house to live together, like a 3 or 4 bedroom or whatever house. And we actually did find a place. And then we got beat up by some med school girls. But would you choose like 3 Asian girls versus 2 Indian dudes and 2 Asian dudes?
It depends. Landlords sometimes prefer guys because you have like less hair, so you're less likely to clog the toilets, but also you're less cleanly. So it just kind of
But we
depends.
also like don't break things, or we try to fix things ourselves. Like
I think there's pros and cons to both. It depends on the landlord, I'd say.
Maybe not a mix. If it was a mix, it might be worse. There's too much drama.
Yeah, I think mixes are the worst.
Anyways, so we hadn't found a place yet, so I got
Okay.
on-campus housing where it was a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom place.
Okay.
But you can lock your own room. Like it's like kind of like a studio. Like you have your own like room,
Okay.
but you share like a living space.
Got it.
So there's like 2 and 2, and then the bathroom's on the side here. So there was a pharmacy student, then another, I forget what the other person was. There's some other person on the other side. And then I shared my side with a physical therapy student.
Okay.
That guy was so on top of it. I wish I could be like him, he was so nice. He's a tall, buff guy, works out every day.
Tall, buff,
So
handsome.
So clean. He had a fiance. They were getting married by the time. So he was like on his last year.
He was a sweet, sweet man.
Yeah, I felt bad. I probably like made the bathroom dirty for him. Like he would like clean everything and make sure everything was fine. His room was very neat. He'd be like very like smiley and everything. He's like, what can I do for you?
So you lived there for a year?
I lived there for 2 years. You can live in dorm room for 2 years.
Okay.
So I think he moved out the first year and then someone else moved in. And it was some dude who I like really never saw. Sometimes the pharmacy student would have parties and I would come back and there'd be like 20 people in the living room. Like they had a little projector and they were like doing drinking games. And I literally come back from like
A lecture.
my lecture and I'm like, I just like go in my room and close the door and there's like noise.
Pharmacy,
But-
fitting.
I
They
mean-
party hard.
Yeah.
Pharmacy and dental, I would say party's the hardest.
Yeah.
Although med school party's
Pharmacy.
pretty hard too.
Yeah, but we don't party as often. We just
Yeah, you don't party as often.
Yeah. Yeah, I think living the dorm was nice. Our laundry was at the first floor. It was clean. The gym with the nice swimming pool was like right next to us. I ate so much Subway those 2 years because there was a Subway that was open late and they still had like $5. They could get
Footlongs.
coupons then. Like I think they were like $8-9 then, but you can find coupons where you can also get like 3 footlongs for like $14, and I would just buy 3 of them and eat them for like the whole weekend.
Ew.
I mean, like I don't know.
Med school life.
Med school life, yeah. I mean, lunch, you try to get free lunch. You go to a lunch lecture, so it's free.
Okay.
Or I went to eat at Panda because I love Panda.
Yeah.
And then dinner, I would either like take the bus to go to Trader Joe's and buy some stuff versus eating Subway. So I could only live on campus for 2 years. So I had to find housing elsewhere for the last 2 years. So like 3rd and 4th years of med school. And I found a couple of roommates who I had known from undergrad who had just graduated and they were moving to SF for their tech jobs. So they're definitely making more money than I was. So we were trying to look for like a 2 or 3 bedroom place to share between us, right? Which made sense. They were not in the city yet, so I was doing all the searching myself. It was really nice. We had a nice view. It's just like the rooms were not like, we couldn't sort out exactly how we could make the rooms work, right? Because there's a loft and 2 like bedrooms. That arrangement was awkward, but I had to do all the work, get all the leasing stuff and find the place myself, and then they got added on. But I mean, I paid much less than the other 2 did because of like how desirable. We did a lot of different mathematics to try to figure out like how to
make it fair for
make
everybody.
it fair. And so I think the rent was like $4,600 or something for the three of us, and I ended up only paying like $1,200.
Did they split it evenly between them?
No, because during the first year, my other roommate had a car, which is why we thought that place was a great deal because it had a garage with a parking spot. So he paid, I think, $2,000.
I see.
And the other person paid like $1,300, $1,400 or $1,500 or something. So the $1,200 was including utilities.
Wait, so then when he got rid of his car, the other guy had to start paying more?
So we then redistributed it a little bit more for the second year when someone else moved in for the third spot. We had a lot of fun times there because we had a really large entertainment space and had a big deck. And so we could have a lot more, like we had a lot of med school parties there. We also got in trouble quite a bit because our downstairs neighbor, shout out to Mark if he's out there. So for some reason, the building is like really stupid. You walk across and you can hear people like downstairs and it's super loud.
Okay.
We never had an issue for this until somebody moved in upstairs of us.
Okay.
That also like was so loud. And we didn't, apparently they were just walking across the room or they were like dancing or I don't know, but even walking across was super loud. And when you have like more than 10 people, like even just playing card games in the room.
It's a stampede.
Yeah. And then he would come in and like he would send emails in the middle of the night to our landlady.
This is Mark?
Yes, Mark. Yeah. And so we didn't really like Mark very much.
We don't like Mark.
We don't like Mark. Sorry, Mark. You're a party pooper. Good time
You
there.
hosted parties, babe?
Yeah.
You're a party
we,
host?
Like dinners and stuff. And yeah.
Little Miss Host, are you?
It was also, the reason we also could host parties there is because our school also gave us like Uber credit if you're Ubering from any distance near the hospital.
I remember those days.
So if you were within half a mile, they kept shrinking the radius in which we were allowed to do this, but it's crazy. But if you took it anywhere from the hospital to it's like to go home, like after hours, it would be free, right?
Yeah,
and so I lived.
The school subsidized Uber rides.
Yeah.
From the hospital.
So sometimes in the middle of the night, if we were out, we would literally walk to near one of the hospitals and then Uber home. But the location of where I lived near the hospital, like 0.3 something miles away. And initially, it was within the circle where you could just Uber to my front door. And then later on, that kept shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. But during the first part, we would be able to like Uber from our place to go to like a bar or go to something.
So the drama ensued when you moved out.
Yeah, I mean, so the fourth year, because of COVID, right? I also was doing a lot of interviews. I was like not there most of the time, and I was still paying my rent. And then I was doing my megabus trips to go see you and hang out with you. And so I wasn't really there. And because of COVID, we didn't really quarantine. Like I just literally didn't spend that much time there. I'd probably be there once a week or like whenever I needed to go back for school.
Yeah. You were living with me, basically, but you still had your stuff.
Yeah. And so we all like left the place after the second year. And we were moving. I had to like sell a lot of the furniture and things. I wasn't there for that. And I asked my other roommates to try to help me like sell the desk, sell the chair. And people wanted to buy them. And they said that they were happy to like come get it. And there's you have to take 2 sets of stairs to go up and down. They helped, I guess, a couple of those people do that. And they were like, hey, you should like split the cost of selling that with me. And I was like, what? And it was like, they were making so much more money than me. And it was also like $100 to begin with.
Yeah, it was just really petty. Like they were asking you to split the money of your furniture. And basically what they did was they opened the door and they let the person in. And some of them were girls. And so the girls obviously couldn't like carry the heavier stuff by themselves. So like they helped and they were like, well, it was just one guy. Yeah. This one guy was like, you should split the money with me. And you got really riled up and you were like, why would I split the money with you? That makes no sense. Like the amount of times I have helped you over the last couple of years,
like I found this apartment and like everything and I've done all these other stuff and like, it was also quite petty because it was like $50.
It was literally like the most expensive thing was $100. And I think he asked for like
30% for like $40. And I'm like,
yeah. And I was the one who told you, I was like, just give him the money and forget it because you don't want him to like leave. So.
And also we had other things that we could sell that we bought together. So we bought the couches and the tables together and they were nice tables. I don't think he understood how much some of the stuff was. He sold it like 4 table high top chair for like $40. And I'm like, You could have sold that for like $400. We split the money of the shared furniture. Yeah.
So the $20.
It's no 3 ways.
Oh my God.
But like, no, these are like small things. But like, I also was paying rent and not living there, which is my fault. But there's just a bunch of things that like didn't feel too good about.
Yeah, well, it was just really annoying. And I feel like when things go wrong, guys aren't the best about communicating with each other about like...
You just become passive aggressive and just not talking to each other.
Yeah. So, I mean, you haven't... Oh, tell them about Spotify.
Oh, but I was on the Spotify family plan and I backed out. And so that was another rift. I mean, it's not hard to find one person, right? But...
No, I mean, it was so petty because I had a Spotify family plan.
I was like, sorry, I don't need it anymore.
So I told Kevin, I was like, why don't you just join mine? Like, I won't charge you or anything because you were paying, what, $2.99 a month?
Like $2.50.
$2.50 a month to split it 6 ways with your roomies and other
like
people.
$15, right?
And they got hella pissed that you backed out of your Spotify plan for $2.50 a month when they were making like a solid $200K a year.
Yeah. But anyways, no, it was fine. Like we were all respectful. Like we were all pretty, like a little bit on the messier side. Like there's a lot of dust everywhere.
Yeah.
But I wasn't like, I was the only one who would cook. So I used the kitchen most of the time. Mm-hmm. And so like I probably made it more messy than it could be. But I also cleaned up their stuff too if they just used like a cup or something. So
yeah, I
think it evened out.
Yeah, when things went south, like y'all went at each other.
Mm-hmm.
And now you live with the best roommate ever, right?
Yeah. Lots of feedback.
Do you want to do that as a whole separate episode?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was fun. Thank you for sharing your stories with me.
If anybody's out there listening, I think it's normal for all of us to have these fun stories. Like
yes.
we're all humans. We have like, for as much as we can have interactions with each other, there's always going to be drama. There's always going to be good things, bad things, and it's like...
And obviously we're highlighting all of the bad things that happened, but there were many good things that happened intermittently that we obviously didn't fit in this episode.
All the bad things.
Yeah, I mean, there were some good times.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. We will be back next week and eventually to talk about living together with a significant other, how you know when you're ready, and all the things in between. We'll see you guys next week. Bye!